got life, mother, I got lips, sister, I got freedom, brother, I've got good times, man. I got crazy ways, daughter, I got $1,000,000 charm, cousin. I've got headaches and toothaches and bad times to like you. I got my hair, I got my head, I got my brains, I got my ears, I got my eyes, got my nose, got my mouth, I got my teeth. I've got my tongue, got my chin, I got my neck, I got my skin, I got my heart, I got my soul, got my back, I got my sense. I've got my arms, I've got my hands, got my fingers, got my legs, got my feet, I got my toes, got my liver, got my blood. I got life, mother, I got lips, sister, I got free. So I'm currently working on a cover of one of my favourite tracks. I got life from, well, I first heard it in the musical film Hair. That's why you've seen it. Great music, 60s. I'm trying to do an alternative cover incorporating the electronic elements like the Digitakt drum machine. I've got a Access Virus synthesizer. I've got a polybrute here in the background as well. So I'm gonna show you where I've got to so far. I got lips, sister, I got freedom, brother, I got good times, man, I got life. Okay, so on the Digitakt I've created 7 patterns so far for this track, which I'm then later on putting into song mode and choosing how long each part plays for. On part 1, you can hear the beat, which is 4 parts. You can also hear a synth pad there and a bass line. Okay, so the synth pad is part 9, bass line is part 10. Part 9, we go over here. I've activated part 9, and that's been sent to Midi channel 9, which is my polybrute. Okay. Track 10, being sent to Midi channel 10, which is playing the Access Virus. Later on, I've sampled some vocals for part 7, which is directly sampled into the Digitakt. And then that goes into the next part of the song. And you can hear a synth pad there, which is 2 parts. So part 11 and part 12. Alright, so the reason why part 11 and part 12 are both going to channel 14 is because we do have a restriction on the length of any kind of melody or riff or sequence of chords, and it's one of the limitations of the Digitakt. It only has 4x4, lots of 16. But a way of overcoming that is by playing the first section of chords on one channel, playing the second section of chords on another channel, and then using the probability for those notes. So say for example, the first note here, if I hold it down, you'll see that the conditions for the first phrase of the song is to play only the first time round of 2 times round. And then on track 2, that is playing the second time round of 2 times round. So by using the probability, you can make longer sections. I've only really done two sections. You can go much higher up to 4 sections, which means you have to use 4 tracks. First time round, second time round, third time round, fourth time round, and then go back to the beginning. So here's the section of the track I didn't actually use. Well, I'm undecided about. I like it, I think it sounds good, but it doesn't really work in with my composition so much at the moment. Okay, on this one I have track 10, playing that dirty bass line sound you can hear. Wow. Okay, next pattern, pattern 4. Okay, on this one we just have a bass line playing, Midi channel 10, just like that, being sent to 10 there. Okay, so there's been quite a few different virus tracks playing, one polybrute sound. I haven't completely maxed out the Midi channels, I haven't overcomplicated things. Okay, so on the virus, what I've done is I've gone to multi-mode. So if you haven't done this before, multi-mode, you've got single and multi-mode here. Click on the left-hand button, and that takes you into multi-mode. If you've got projects already set up, or if you can go use the values at the bottom here to go through the different number of multi-modes. I don't know how many you get. Seems to be quite a lot, which is good. I haven't used many of them yet, so far I've used 0 for brown brittle frames, which is a track I'm working on, and I've used the next one 1 for I Got Life. Okay, once you're in multi-mode, I mean if you're doing a new one, go there, you got initial empty track, which you can select, and then once you've got an empty track, you can go to, in order to edit that track, you can press shift and edit. You can just about see under here says edit multi-mode, so shift and edit, and that takes you into the edit screen for multi-mode. So at the moment at the top of the screen here you can see 0, 1, which means patch 1. At the moment it's empty. I recommend auditioning sounds before you go into multi-mode, because let's go out of multi-mode for a second. If you want to find a bass sound, you know, you can click on search and go for your categories here, and you can select bass, and then basically you can audition the sounds, get a pen and paper, write down the sounds you like, and if you're looking for a pad or something along those lines, and you know, test them out. So this is what I've done with this track. I've created the beat under the Digitakt, I've let the beat play, I've gone through different sounds on the virus, I've auditioned them, thought okay that sounds quite good, I've written it down. Once I've got a list of sounds, then I've gone into multi-mode. So we get back into multi-mode, get to edit, and then first thing to do is set some MIDI parameters, or set your MIDI channels. So here, part 1 at the moment is set to MIDI channel 1. I set mine to 9, which was the first MIDI channel number on the Digitakt. And then to change the patches, you can do is set this all up at the beginning, click on part, and now we're on part 2. And then I'll put that MIDI channel to put channel 10, and then go to the next track, MIDI channel 11, next track 12, and so on. So obviously we've got 8 tracks. So what will that take us up to? 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Not all 16 parts of the virus used, but that's the 8, definitely the 8 parts of the Digitakt used up. So once you've done that, go back to part 1. Right, so we've set up the MIDI channels, leave the volume for now, go left and right to go to different parameters. Okay, so left takes you to part enable,
and at the moment part 1 is turned on, which means if the Digitakt is playing or sending MIDI commands to the virus will acknowledge those MIDI parts and play whatever's coming in its direction. So for now, I'll leave MIDI channel 1 on, but I do recommend going through and turning the other ones off for now, because sometimes if you've got something else on the same MIDI channel and you haven't realised, you can have multiple sounds playing all at the same time, and it can be a bit confusing as to why that is happening. Right, so I've just turned it off. I'm turning off, enabling all parts apart from part 1 for now. Okay, right. Also on this page here, we now have the bank number and the program number. So earlier on, I made a list of various sounds that I quite liked. So let's have a look. So one of the sounds I used was UK Garage 2 ROM C. So turn this. So I get some ROM C, part 103. It can be a bit fiddly using this dial to kind of get the number one. So once you've started twiddling it, if you get close but it won't like stop on the one you want, you can use these program values to go backwards and forwards. Okay, so that's the garage sound. Oh yeah. Okay, so for now, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to just set up some of the sounds that I quite liked, and then I can audition them on the Digitakt once I've got like the notes in place. So that's part 1 set up. Let's go to part 2. So part 2, one of the tracks on ROM C again, 57. If I play this now, you can hear nothing happens because that part isn't actually able. So if I turn that on, I can now hear. Let's just do one more. Okay, part 3, classic synth sounds. Okay, ROM C again. They all seem to be on ROM C at the moment. So ROM C, 63. Ober, is it Ober chime? 8. I can't remember how you say it. Let's turn that on. Okay, so we've set up 3 sounds on the parameters. We can see we've got MIDI channel 11, MIDI channel 11, 10 and 9. So now, if I go to my Digitakt, I program in some notes on MIDI page 9, set the MIDI channel to 9 and play those notes. It's going to play my it's going to play that that sound on the virus, and then on MIDI channel 10 on my Digitakt, I set that to channel 10, and I set programming the notes, sequencing the notes. It's going to play that sound, and so on. Okay, so once you've got your sound set up, some of the parameters in here which are useful. First one is volume, because you don't want all of your instruments to play at the same volume. So I'll set that one a bit quieter. That's quite loud, so let's just turn that down a bit. Okay, so I can adjust the volume in the virus, but I can also adjust the volume on the Digitakt, which I'll show you in a bit. You'll need to know the virus CC numbers, and so far I have got some which I know off by heart. Things I use quite a lot. Cutoff 1 is 40, MIDI CC 40, cutoff 2 41, I think resonance is 42. Another MIDI channel that I've discovered is useful to have on the Digitakt. It's probably actually the first one I'm going to put on the Digitakt is the volume. So that way I can control the volume from the Digitakt. So that's Midi CC7. You can find lists on the internet. They all seem to come from different websites like Electron or somewhere else, not from Access Virus. Again, like I say, finding information on Access Virus is an absolute pain in the ass. Great one. When I have set up my tracks and I want to make sure it's definitely stored, I press the store button, which is this one here. Press that. Press store to execute, so press it again. And then I'm on the naming page, so name it whatever you want to name it, the name of the track you're working on. This is a demonstration. I'm not going to bother putting anything in. Yeah, so you just go around, change the numbers to whatever you want it to be. And then once you've done that, press store again, and that will store all your settings, your MIDI channels, the patches, and any tweaks you have done to the sound. So I'm just going to exit that for now. Store cancelled. On some of the sounds, because we're working outside the door, and maybe you're playing live, you might want to EQ some stuff. So over in this direction, for everybody who's got the virus, you know you've got your effects section, and part of the effects section is EQing. So sounds lush on its own, but in a mix it might have a bit too much bass. So I clicked where it says delay on the effects section. There's also an edit button, so I click on the edit button, and the edit button brings up the parameters to edit the delay. But next to the delay button is also select button. If I click on select button, it takes you through the various different effects. We've got the reverb, and then we've got low cut EQ, mid EQ, high EQ, and so on back to delay. So I would go to the low, and I would turn the gain down, and then I don't know, bring up the frequency to where, you know, just beyond the bass, and the kick would be in a mix. So more bass, less bass, and then just tweak it. And then move on to the mids and so on, and EQ it. I mean, obviously ideal to do that whilst you're playing all the other sounds. So have your bass playing, have your Digitakt playing with the beats and so on. And then whilst it's playing and the Digitakt's sending the MIDI commands to your virus, telling it what to do, you can go in and tweak the sound. And okay, again, quite a lot of nice bass in, or a lot of low end in that one. So I'll go through my section. Turn down the low end a bit. Okay, so you've got your sounds in, you've set up the MIDI channels, you're making some changes to the volume, you're making some changes to the EQ maybe, and then once you've done all of that, I don't know if it saves automatically, but just to make sure, I click on store, and then it'll ask you to execute, so you press store again, and then that way, you know, you've got all your settings and everything set up in your new multi-track library, if you like. I don't know what you call it. All right, so I've done all of that in this one here. I got live. I've set up various different sounds. Not all of them have I used. Okay, so hopefully that's quite useful for anybody who's got a virus and hasn't explored this multi-track window and no longer can use the software. I do know that there is software out there you can get, but I haven't got that. But if you've got Digitakt or some kind of sequencer, you now have that option to use the multi-track on here, have loads of different parts playing from your virus all at the same time, being controlled by your Digitakt, which is great. One thing I'm just going to quickly demonstrate after I've talked about setting up channels on the virus is actually setting up the channels on the Digitakt. On this pattern, 3 MIDI channels being used. Alright, so what we're going to do is unmute 16, select 16, 16 being a MIDI channel, and up in source you can see here all of these are empty. In order to select the channel, you press function, press the button. Many people have demonstrated that in videos, there's nothing new, and then you twiddle that to whatever the sound is you want to control on the virus. I think one we set up to UK Garage. Once you've set up the channel, you can set up the bank and the program number, which I found trying to find information about what bank, because obviously you've got ROM A, ROM B, C, etc. If there's an actual number for each of those banks, I found it pretty much impossible to find on the internet. The program number is fairly simple because you've got a number like the UK Garage was ROM C 103, so you'd expect to set that to 103, but what are the bank numbers? No way of finding out. But if you've made a notebook like I have, you can twiddle that and just look at the virus and watch the ROMs until it actually gets to the ROM bank. That's basically the only way I've been able to figure it out. I engaged this and I twiddled this, and the ROMs weren't changing on the virus, so I was a bit confused. But if I engaged the program number first and then engaged the bank, I twiddled the program number, that seemed to make things happen on the virus. I could see the patches were changing, and then I twiddled the bank and I could see that the ROM banks were changing. So if you're struggling with that, activate the program number first, activate the bank second, twiddle them both until they're doing something, and once you can see they're doing something, then select the ROM you want and then select the program number you want. One thing to bear in mind, they don't line up. So the program number, if it's 103 on the virus, it might be 104 on here. No idea why that is, but it doesn't seem to line up. The next thing to show you is if you go to amp. In this here is where we set up the various different parameters on the virus that we want to change. So like the volume, the cutoff, the resonance. So the volume is number 7. So I twiddle this and that'll take me to number 7. And it does actually say main volume. And the next one is the cutoff. Cutoff 1, so that's 40. This is where you set the parameters, but you don't control the parameters from this page. So in order to control the parameters, you go to filter, and then you have to engage those 2 parameters like you did before. So you function, press, and then this one here will control the volume. So I can set the volume on here, and then hopefully when I turn on the Digitakt in the future, this will automatically control it, set the volume for the virus, meaning I don't have to tweak things on the virus. And then the cutoff. Once you've got these things set up, you can automate one of these features as far as I can tell so far. Go to yellow, and then you'll set the destination. So for destination, we'll probably select the cutoff, which is CC2. That's yes, and then obviously we can play around with these things here until it makes the cutoff and modulate on the virus. The modulation is all going on within the virus, not within the Digitakt.